morning, everyone. My name's Beth Griggs, and I work at IBM as an open source engineer in their Node.js runtime team. I'm lucky enough to spend about half of my time at IBM working on the open source Node runtime. I'm mainly active in the Node.js release working group. I'm also in the Node.js technical steering committee. The rest of my time at IBM is spent looking at deployment techniques and tools for deploying your Node.js apps into the cloud. So Node.js turned 10 this year, so happy 10th birthday Node.js. And today I'm going to be reflecting on the past 10 years. I'll cover some of the history and what's new in the latest versions of Node. So if we go back to where it all started, so it was a personal project by Ryan Dahl. And in one of his online blogs, he mentions that he was trying to solve the file upload issue. How can you tell how much of a file has been uploaded to a web server without regularly sending an AJAX request, pinging the server to find out how much has been uploaded? And in trying to solve this, he started work on a small project. And by the March of 2009, he'd created what was named Node.js. So this is the first commit where you see Node appeared, and this is March 2009. And he introduced Node to the world at JSConf EU in Berlin in 2009. And at the time, he introduced Node as server-side JavaScript, built on Google's V8 engine, evented non-blocking I/O. It was using the common JS module system, and back then it just had 8,000 lines of C, C++, 2,000 lines of JavaScript, and just 14 contributors. And in this talk, you can watch it online, he mentions how he was trying to solve the issue with blocking I/O. And just 6 months later, we start seeing cloud providers offering services, Node.js services in the cloud. So Heroku, in April 2010, were offering an experimental Node.js service in the cloud. And around the same time in 2010, NPM was released, the package manager for Node.js, as I'm sure you're aware. And unsurprisingly, around the same time, we started seeing frameworks pop up and people using these popular frameworks. So one of those created in 2010 was Express. And this is a web framework for building web applications, APIs, and it was actually inspired by Ruby's Sinatra framework. We also have Socket.io, so that was mainly built for developing real-time web applications, so chat clients and things like that. And by 2011, big enterprises and companies are starting to announce that they're using Node.js in production. So LinkedIn, Uber, all posting blogs and articles about how their use of Node.js has allowed them to get apps developed quicker and be able to scale at larger rates. And this is all while Node.js has still not even reached version 1. So large enterprises are using it, there's cloud services offering it, and it's not even reached version 1. In mid-2012, we're at version 0.8. And in 2012, Happy framework was created. And this was actually developed by Walmart to handle their scaling issues on Black Friday sales. So they built a bespoke framework to handle the scaling requirements of all the customers coming in to buy things on their Black Friday sales. And then in 2013, we see even more frameworks. So PayPal made Kraken, which is actually built on top of Express. And we also see Koa. And Koa was actually created by the original author of Express, but the aim was it to be a smaller and more expressive framework. And also in 2013, we start seeing references to mean stack applications. So people grouping Mongo, Express, Node, and Angular as their stack for developing an application. And in 2014, as I'm sure many of you are aware, the project was forked as IO.js. Two of the cited reasons, amongst a variety of reasons, was the goal of introducing ES6 support and fast-moving releases. So those are some of the reasons that the IO.js fork happened. And as early as Q1 2015, the Node.js Foundation was established, and many companies came together to establish this foundation so that Node.js could be built on a community based on neutral and open source and open governance. So it included Fidelity, IBM, Joyent, Linux Foundation, Microsoft, PayPal, SAP, and the Node.js Foundation was living underneath the Linux Foundation. And around the same time in Q1 2015, so just after the Node.js Foundation had been established, a reconciliation proposal was put forward to merge the IO.js and Node.js projects back together. And by Q2, the projects were merged back together as part of the Node.js Foundation. And soon after this, Node 4 was released. We skipped versions 1, 2, and 3 because they didn't exist in Node.js, and IO.js was already at 4, so we would skip straight to 4. And this was the first fully converged release with IO.js and the Node.js source. And it was also the first release to follow the LTS policy. So around this time, after the foundation was established, the Node.js team determined an LTS policy. And what this meant is even numbers of Node.js would be supported for an up to 30-month time period. And this meant that large businesses and individuals had a platform in which they could grow on. It meant that they could start using Node 4 and know that they wouldn't need to upgrade to a new major version of Node for a good couple of years. It gives them a stable release line to build their project on. And by 2015, Node.js Foundation was growing, lots more companies signing up and joining. And also in 2015, we had the first Node.js Interactive. So there's all the talks from this interactive online. It's very interesting to see lots of large companies coming forward, putting talks saying, hey, we've just started using Node.js. These are the lessons we've learned, and this is how helpful using Node has been for us. And there was about 700 attendees back in that one. And in 2016, Express joins the Node Foundation. So as an incubator project, and what an incubator project means under the Node.js Foundation is that they can receive assistance and help with their governance and mentorship under the Node.js project. It's kind of to give stability to the ecosystem. Express is so widely depended on out in the world that having it under the foundation governance is where it should be. I checked this morning, it gets like 42 million downloads a month still. So even though it's 9 years old, it's still way up there with the most popular framework. So that's why it's under the foundation, to keep it robust for our users. And also in 2016, Node version 6 was released. So this is another LTS release. And in this release, module loading got faster. We had a new buffer API. We had some improved security measures, including some changes to the math.random and some additional ES6 features. So we had default function parameters, REST parameters, and the spread operator all added in Node 6. And also in 2016, you might remember the leftpad incident. So you might not have been directly depending on leftpad, but there's chances are that it was somewhere in your dependency chain. And what happened is the package got unpublished from NPM, and all of a sudden everyone's NPM install started to fail. NPM very quickly restored the package, but it definitely sparked some concerns and highlighted issues with Node.js management. Dependency management, how one author unpublishing one package could take down lots of people's live installs. And one of the surprising things about this is when people looked into the module, it actually was just 11 lines of JavaScript code. It was just padding a string. So yeah, it was really, I personally think this is really when all the questions around NPM, security of NPM modules and dependency management started to be highlighted. And interestingly, the same year, Yarn was created. And this was a collaboration between Facebook, Exponent, Google, and tilde to solve some of the problems that they were facing with dependency management. And by 2017, there was kind of mass adoption declared of Node.js. So this is a slide from Node.js Interactive 2017. And at the time, there was 8.8 million Node instances in the cloud and 3 billion downloads of from NPM a week. And we'd gotten up to 1,500 contributors. So in the 8 years between 2009 and 2017, we'd gained a good 1,490 contributors. 5,000 packages published every week. And yeah, so it was really, that conference was saying, look how widespread our Node usage is. Lots of companies saying we're using Node in production. So, yeah. And in 2017, Node version 8 was released. Some of the main features in that release were NAPI, which provides an application binary interface across versions of Node.js. This means that you can build your native modules against a stable API that won't change across versions of Node. It will make upgrading easier as well. util.promisify was added in this release, the async hooks API, and Node options. So the ability for you to set some of the command line options via an environment variable instead of just passing as a parameter to the Node process. And as a public service announcement, if anyone's using Node 8, please start thinking of upgrading or moving off of it because it goes end of life in December 2019. After that, you won't get any security or bug fixes. And the reason it's going end of life in December rather than the full April is because it's tied to the end of life of OpenSSL. So the version of OpenSSL that is shipped with Node 8 goes end of life on the 31st of December. So that's when Node 8 will be end of life. And then in April 2018, we have the even-numbered releases every April. Node 10 was released, and in this release, NAPI was declared stable, so was HTTP2. And there was also experimental FS promises, so the ability to use FS functions and interact with them using promises rather than callbacks. And also, the V8 was updated to 6.6, which included async generators. In early 2019, the JS Foundation and Node.js Foundation merged to form the OpenJS Foundation. There's currently 28 projects beneath the OpenJS Foundation banner, including 7,000 contributors and 20 members. So projects such as Node-RED, etc., are all under this OpenJS Foundation banner with Node now. And in 2019, April again, Node 12 was released. And Node 12 will be entering long-term support on the 22nd of October, so in just 2 weeks' time. And there's a good blog on the Node.js Foundation Medium detailing all the new features. But to call out a few notable ones, V8 got updated to V8.7.7. In this, we got async stack traces, faster calls with arguments mismatch, faster await, faster JavaScript parsing. It's also worrying that we're getting very close to V8, which I'm sure is going to be a very confusing time. And also was an upgraded version of ES6 module support. So you can use this behind the flag -- experimental modules. And the Node.js module team has a great blog detailing all the updates and why the reasoning behind those updates for the new ES6 module support in Node 12. Node 12 also came with a diagnostic report facility. And again, this is experimental behind the flag -- experimental report. And what this does is it allows you to generate a report on demand or when certain events occur. If any of you have worked with Java before, this is kind of similar to Java core file in that it will help you diagnose crashes, slow performance, memory leaks, high CPU usage, etc. Initially, it was contributed to core by my colleague Griggs, who works at IBM, and his PR actually received almost 1,000 comments or suggested changes, and I'm pretty sure that's almost a record for Node. It's got to be up there with one of the most commented on PRs. And some of the other features in Node 12 are worker threads now stable, source map support, TLS 1.3 support, and default parser was switched to LLHTTP, and it was switched for maintainability reasons. And Node 13 is coming soon. So it's due to be released on the 22nd of October, so in a couple of weeks' time. The PR is out there at the moment that you can take a look at, all of the included changes. At the moment, there's just 48 some of the major PRs going into it. And also, if you take a look at the PR, there's also release candidate builds. So if you want to have a play with Node 13, go to this PR and you can download Node and have a play. One interesting thing is we tend to find with odd-numbered releases, we have far fewer commits than some of the major commits, and that's because Node 13 will not be an LTS release. So you probably don't want to really be using Node 13 in production ever. It's more of a, I want to play with new features locally. When it comes to Node 14 is when you'll actually get a chance to use some of these features in production. And if we look at 2019 in numbers, as of today, we've got just over 2,500 contributors. We've had around 3,000 pull requests this year, 1,300 issues opened, and that's just in the Node.js node repo. We've also got a Node.js help repo where obviously there's quite a few more help questions. And we've had 38 releases across all of the different supported versions of Node.js. And if you want to get involved, it's not only code contributions on new features that you could get involved with. There's a lot more that goes into the project than just that. We've got an automation group that focuses on creating tools that can help us manage the project better. One example is one that helps us land commits. We've got documentation and internationalization efforts, so if you can help there and improve our docs, it's great. And one other big one is maintaining our build infrastructure. So we test, I can't remember the exact numbers, it's definitely over 50 OSs and platforms. So every PR will get tested on 50 different machines that are all a different mixture of OS and architectures. And maintaining this farm of, I think there's well over 100, almost 200 machines, is a large amount of effort and often contributed on a voluntary basis. So that's a big part of our time in the Node.js community, is maintaining our build infrastructure. But yeah, if there's anything anyone wants to get involved with, feel free to come find me during the breaks or what have you, and I'll try and get you in contact with people in the various groups. And there's also a website called Node.jsday, and that will guide you through your first contribution to Node.js. So if you want to get a PR into Node.js, if you just Google Node.jsday, there'll be a good guide on there to help you get started. And as it's Hacktoberfest, there's also some Hacktoberfest issues in the Node.js node repo, so some of those might be a good first issue to pick up if you want to help us out. And so thank you for listening to my talk. If you want to talk to me, come find me, even if it's about IBM cloud-related stuff. And yeah, thank you for listening to my talk, everyone.